Hi guys, my name is Dante, and welcome back to Overpain. Today's patient is Draw Kingdom. Hi Draw. Hey Boro. I have been watching for a while now and was hoping that you could do an Overpain on my latest artwork, Zenyatta from Overwatch. With this one I was trying to draw a dynamic pose and painting my first background. Hashtag Overpain. Also, I think some of the lighting is off, but I'm not sure how to fix that. Alright, let's try to fix all kinds of stuff. Let's take a closer look at Zenyatta first of all. So this is a robot character from a game called Overwatch. Never played Overwatch. I'm not really into multiplayer games. Only slightly driven by nostalgia. I occasionally, very rarely play Quake Champions, and it's boring too. I don't know. I like games with the story, but that doesn't mean that the character isn't cool. I think it's really cool. Has this Japanese martial arts something to it. Looks kind of cool. So I'll assume Draw was inspired by this shot. Not this shot, this action pose of the character. Zenyatta probably does this kind of action pose quite a lot. Oh, there you go. When the balls are close to his head, they do look like that, a lot more massive in a way. So real quick, I'm gonna start with cutting out the character. I'm pretty sure it was in a separate layer originally as well. Now, one thing I want to fix, like the first thing I look at it, is the perspective of the floor. These plates, they're falling down or something, and that kind of stuff will bring the dynamics of the picture. Perspective is a good supporter of dynamics, and it can easily ruin it if it's wrong. So probably to support the dynamics, like we're only talking about background right now, there's probably more stuff to do with the character, but even in the background, if we would choose a vanishing point over there from the source of the action and make the plates go like that on the floor, it will immediately improve things, I hope. I'm also adding some of extra snow spots in here, maybe in here a little bit more. Just because we can. Snow can get in all kinds of places, and in here we had quite a boring, repetitive pattern of plates and that's it. So why not introduce something extra? Oh my god, how many times am I going to do this stroke? I'm just trying to choose a good angle, good perspective for the plates. I chose like a secondary vanishing point over there, and this makes things even more dynamic. Like it already looks like a thing, doesn't it? Simply because of the floor. That's the thing with perspective. If you don't choose it, things will always look static. When you don't choose perspective, everything is just like this in front of you. And that's the most static things can possibly be. Now let's do a trick with columns as well. I'm going to select these two at the same time and just do this. And this way what we did is we added the actual perspective to the background. Now we have the same kind of dynamics going on. Even making the clouds follow the dynamics, like they're still going from the chest, from the core of the action. Look at that difference. Like in here, the action is kind of happening, but nothing supports it. And the guy feels a bit out of place, like awkward, because the dynamics is broken. And this way it's so much better, like everything's just right. Now, I want to make the character's limbs a bit more appropriate right away, because right now it looks like someone's wearing a suit of a robot. The limbs are so thick, when the original has very narrow ones, especially at this angle. Now, the thing about the dynamic pose, like this is a good example, this is exactly what I was thinking about, and this screenshot right here really proves it. If you would do what the original does, like this and this, does that look dynamic? Not at all. Now think about how would you take this pose, but dynamically. You would do this. You would tilt forward. And I was thinking like, well, maybe this monk robot doesn't really tilt and always does things straight, and that's kind of his thing. But no, it isn't. He tilts his head. Not just tilts his head, he bends forward like this. When I just draw this on top, you can see how if this would happen, it would be so much more dynamic. So let's try to do that. Not an easy task to overpaint it like that, but we'll see. So I've done some big and small fixes, tilted the torso, made some colors more saturated. I wonder why they were so pale initially. Maybe because of the cold ambience in the mountains, like the snow and everything. Well, it's not that strong, not that aggressive. It wouldn't desaturate everything like that. So I brought back some of the color. We could even make it more saturated. It would be fine. But one important thing, and a huge contributor to the actual dynamics of the picture, is this hand. I made the perspective on it way stronger, like it's bigger than the head right now. And that's actually, as I look at it, is the same way it goes in probably any reference with this character. The hand is always bigger than the head. That's what the dynamic shot is about. Strong perspective that makes the limb that is doing the action bigger than the rest of the body. And so I did it simply because like everything was saying that it needs to be like that. If you look at the knees, this knee is noticeably bigger than this one, so we have like strong perspective going on. And the hand is way closer to the camera than the knee. Knee is lower and a bit shorter, I think, as well. The arm is getting further away, of course. So it's way closer to us than that knee. The closer we get to the camera, especially when the perspective is strong, it like exponentially makes things even bigger, like it's crazy. So you shouldn't be afraid of doing this. It's okay if the arm is that huge. It will look fine if you make the rest of the things work like the actual perspective. Now, I didn't play enough with the details of the arm of the robot itself, like, well, it looks somewhat decent, but really quick. Like, the main part here is this joint, the elbow joint, like this forearm goes like this, and then the shoulder goes like this, and in between there's this circular kind of a joint. And it's gonna be covered from this side because we're looking at it like from the top, right? So it's facing over there and it's all like that. And so since the joint is inside, the center would be like over there. That's why this closer to us forearm will be covering half of it. And that's the whole foreshortening logic. That's the geometry, the perspective, and you kind of have to build things and think about them as 3D objects to pull this off. I'm not saying I pulled it off, it looks really bad. Man, this, the shoulder thing, it's really slim in the original, in the reference, I mean. Now let's reshade the ball a little bit too. Let's choose a dark spot in the reflection somewhere around here. Alright, I guess this will be it. An actual classical form of overpaint right there. So I think we improved the dynamics quite a lot. It now actually reads like the thing is going on for real. Made the ball glowing the way the reference had it. Looks kinda cool. Yeah, worked a little bit on the shading of the robot, but didn't pay too much attention to it. If you wanna know more about how to shade reflective metals, check out this video where I paint the Lady of Steel. So yeah, the background supporting the dynamics of the character is a big deal, as well as introducing the actual perspective to the environment. It justifies the strong perspective on the character, because the character even initially had a strong perspective, at least on the legs. It's definitely noticeable. On the arms, there was a good attempt, but we need to go even more definitive about it. So if the perspective is strong and the arm is really close to the camera, make it look like you mean it, make it really big. And yes, we tilted the character a bit forward, so he would look like he's actually into this action. That's just the pose language, gesture language, whatever. You don't attack while leaning back, you know, it doesn't read right, so things need to work all together. How about a little bit of this? Yeah, on the shading part, on the lighting, like, there's not a lot of stuff that could be wrong in here, except for, well, get rid of the outlines, obviously. Like, if the surface is of certain color next to the edge, make the whole edge of that color, don't make the dark outlines. And secondly, make the shadows much deeper, especially in the contact areas. The thing that I always fix in overpaints, adding contact shadows. So certain things get a lot darker when they're really close to each other. So yeah, this is it. Tell me guys what you think about the result. Did we manage to improve the picture? I think we did. Like, even outside of just some extra rendering on the materials, I didn't do much of that. Overall, the dynamics feel a lot more appropriate, in harmony in all the parts of the image. So yeah, this is it. Thank you, Draw Kingdom, for your submission. This was an interesting fan art, an interesting topic to do the whole dynamics question. I don't do that a lot myself, so this is a good thing to address. If any of you guys want me to overpaint your picture like this, the link to my Patreon page is in the end of this video. You become my patron, submit the picture, write the description, I read the description and overpaint the picture. But for now, I thank you for watching if you did, I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe, tell a friend, attack, do whatever you want, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! I wonder what these balls do. They probably harm people, don't they? Not like there's a lot of choice for the character from the multiplayer shooting game. I mean, it could be healing, but that's boring.